town has a ghost story that's been passed down through the generations. But what if those legends were true? My name is Miranda Young, and I'm the Ghost Biker. Hey everyone, and happy Thursday night. We are here live at the historic Scott County Jail, and you're tuned in for the next little bit with myself. I'm the Ghost Biker, and we are on the Ghost Biker Garage Live. And we've got such a great show for you tonight. Tonight's guest is actually staying up late, and he is tuning in from the UK. So we are so thankful to have him on tonight. And it's going to be a fantastic show. But I wanted to get to a few different announcements that we've got. If you guys watched our show last week from the historic Scott County Jail, actually it was this week. We did a special live on Tuesday. If you watched that, the Jailhouse Informant Live, we made a very, very special announcement. Really big news, big secret that we've been keeping. So very excited to announce that. And I'll get to that here in just a few minutes. But I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about a few of the things that we've got going on here at the historic Scott County Jail. I know that you guys have heard me talk a whole lot about our big event that we've got coming up on this Saturday, which is May 20th. It is the third annual Harold Young Memorial Scholarship Dart Run. And I'm going to see if I can make this just a little bit bigger so you guys can see that here. So this is a scholarship that's named in honor of my dad, who was a 39-year educator with the Scott County school system, as well as the Morgan County School or Wartburg School District. He taught science. He taught chemistry, physics, and biology, general science. He was basically all things science. And so he passed away in 2019. And so in order to give back, we created this scholarship, and it gives $1,000 to a Scott High School student who's majoring in the field of science. We've been showing videos about this, showed videos from past events as well as last year's winner. Last year's winner was Miss Gracie King, and she was going into the field of nursing. So she was able to use that scholarship as she was going to the University of Tennessee. So we're very, very excited and honored to be able to do this in honor of my dad. And so what's a dart run, you ask? Well, a dart run is basically we've got 3 stops, and at each stop you get a hand of darts. And so you'll play that hand of darts, and at the very end, the winner's going to win a really cool trophy. Last year, Miss Nancy Burke won that trophy, and so she's going to be back trying to defend that this year, but hopefully we'll get a lot of people in here and give her some competition. Also, the cost of the event is $20, and that includes all 3 stops, all 3 hands of darts, as well as the meal that we're having at the end location. The first stop is going to be at the Robbins Masonic Lodge, FNAM 640. And then the second stop is going to be Dillegaff Cycle Shop. Third stop is going to be here at the historic Scott County Jail. And so at that, this year's winner is going to be here around 12:30. And so we're going to present the winner with this year's scholarship. So, thank you, Alex. Dad, he would be so happy about that. Like I said, this was something that was really important to us to do, to be able to honor my dad. And so, we were going to get a donate now button put up, but I've been working on that for the last 2 days. And I'm not able at this time to get a instant button set up to that, whether it be through PayPal or Venmo. So we do have an address if we do have a couple people who have made donations already. So if you want to send those, I will put the address up here. I'll flash that on the screen, and we'll make the announcement again here at the end of the show. After the dart run, depending on how things go with that, we may go ahead and also put another, try to see if we can get that link set up live to where if people want to donate through PayPal, we'll do it that way at that point. So So, like I said, thank you to those who have donated already. We truly appreciate that. So like I said, we'll let you know about the other button. Okay, so the big announcement that we made, I know some of you here were on and was able to see this on Sunday, but I want to go ahead and share my screen. So this is something that's essentially been a year in the making and very, very, we put a lot of care into this. As you guys know, I partnered with Dr. Christy Sumner from Soul Sisters Paranormal. We created the company History Highways and Haunts LLC, and so that's what we co-own the jail under is our History Highways and Haunts. And so some of you have visited the jail and investigated here at the jail. Well, for the past year, we've been working on an expansion. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull this up right now. So bear with me a second. Actually, I need to, because I don't have the site live, let me go to it right here. So basically, whoops. Okay. Okay, here we go. Again, sorry. Thank you for bearing with me here. Um, so we've got Dr. Sumner here in the audience as well. So we partnered together and got the website up. It is not live just yet because we want to make sure that all the booking is set up. But we have opened a location in Rugby, Tennessee, where we are doing historic after dark tours. And so it's called Historic Rugby After Dark. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and kind of start this video that we have playing here. Let me see if this will play. It kind of shows you a little bit about what we're doing here at Rugby. So once this plays through, we'll kind of talk just a little bit more about it. All right. So like I said, this is the website that we do have set up here. And it's Historic Rugby After Dark. Rugby has been on the National Historic Registry since the 70s. It was established in 1880, and it's been a tourist location since the 70s. And so we're very, very excited to be able to open this up to a new audience where we're going to be doing lantern tours as well as opening it up for private paranormal investigations. We're also going to have guided ghost hunts there as well. And then there is a special option on these private paranormal investigations that actually includes lodging. And so there are several houses, at least 3 on there, that you will be able to do a private paranormal investigation and stay in one of these 3 houses overnight. So we're working on getting all of that up for booking. Those will be limited dates, but we will be offering traditional private paranormal investigations that go from 8:30 p.m. to 3 a.m. We're going to be offering those basically every Thursday through Sunday night. So we're really excited about that. I'm just going to kind of run through the website right quick here. Like I said, it's we've got it set up to where you will be able to do these investigations and be able to book them straight on the site there. And so with these investigations, you will have access at the very least to Uffington House, to the library, to the schoolhouse, Kingstone Lyle. And I feel like I'm missing one more. And so, Christy, like I said, I think I'm missing something. So if there's something I didn't mention, please feel free to mention that on there. And, thank you for your compliments on the website. So we are very excited about that. That will be out there and it will be open here very, very soon. We're hoping either tonight or first thing in the morning be able to go on and book. So we want to make sure the schoolhouse, yes, the rugby schoolhouse. Thank you. So Uffington House, Kingstone Lyle, the rugby schoolhouse, the Hughes Library. And so yeah, we'll have all that out there. But I'm going to go ahead. Let me get this queued off here. I'm going to go ahead and get to tonight's guest because, like I said, he has stayed up very late to come on and chat with us. He's also brought some evidence that we're going to share. And let me pull this up here. He's got some different evidence that we're going to share, and we're going to kind of go through that and talk about some of the really cool and interesting locations that he's visited. My guest tonight is Mr. Nando DeSario from Portal to the Paranormal. He's a paranormal investigator from the UK and started his journey into the paranormal field during the COVID-19 pandemic when the owner of Portal to the Paranormal asked him to be a part of the team. His wife, Sarah, has always been in the paranormal, and Nando never thought too much of the field, even though he had had several experiences. He had experienced some stuff as a child. It wasn't until he had his own paranormal experience as an adult which sparked his interest in the paranormal and caused it to grow into a passion. Nando has investigated some amazing locations and also is part of the Portal to the Paranormal's podcast, Thriller Podcast Live. I know that if you've been following my page for some time, I've been on his podcast twice at this point, and I know that my business partner, Dr. Sumner's been on there several times as well. And so they talk to guests from all around the world about the paranormal. So we're going to be talking about this and much more with tonight's guest, Mr. Nando. Hey.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for staying up and talking with us tonight.
Thank you for reaching out and asking me to be part. It's a bit weird for me because I'm used to doing the tour, like the interviewing. So this is a bit different for me. So, hey, Chris. So it is nice, but yeah, it's a little bit different. So, but I'm looking forward to it. So, always talking to you is lovely, and catching up with you. So, yeah, it should be fun tonight.
Absolutely. So we are broadcasting live tonight here on my page, as well as on the Ghost Biker Explorations YouTube channel, and also on Parapost 2 International. So we're always excited to be able to be on that platform and talk with folks from all around the world. So so why don't you go ahead and start by telling us? I know I kind of mentioned it a little bit there in the intro about how you got into it, but what was it that really drove you here into the paranormal?
So for me personally, like I said, Sarah has always been a big, she loves the paranormal and she got into it. And for me, I think I remember experiences as a child, but you sort of grow out and things are different. But what really changed that was there was an evening where Sarah was in bed, the kids were all asleep. So I would stay up, watch a bit of TV. And so I don't disturb anyone, I would always have the sitting room door closed. And it's one of those big, like wooden heavy doors. So it doesn't just open at all. And I'm there, sat there watching TV, and the door handle literally shot down and the door flew open. And that sort of like, wow, that was a wow moment then. But then I saw a full apparition of my grandfather just walk into the front room. And he literally walked past the TV and come and sat on the sofa next to me. And I never forget it because, you know, people, when I've told people of this experience, they were like, were you asleep? You know, were you sure? I was definitely asleep because I got up, left the room, and I went straight upstairs to Sarah, and I was like, you're never going to believe what's happened. And it was from that moment, you know, it made me really think, you know, these spirits could be around and show themselves at any time. I never expected to see what I saw. And I can tell you detailed, he was wearing his little farmer hat that he used to wear, because he was quite a dapper person, my grandfather say, and he had his waistcoat on with his shirt, his tie, and his chinos, because he used to love wearing like these chino jeans. So I can remember, you know, everything. You know, the only difference with him, he wasn't in his older self that I remembered him as.
Mm.
He was a younger version of him, but I know what he looked like as a younger version because I got pictures of him. So again, he looked younger. So, and then it started making me think: do spirits, when we pass on, do we get to choose how we want to present ourselves to people? You know, and it sort of led from there. And then I was lucky enough, Dan Winter from Portal to the Paranormal. Sarah was already part of the team, but then he reached out and goes, would you like to be involved? Would you like to learn? And I was like, you know what, let's do it. And then from there, it's just gone from there. And it's just been a great journey, because some of the things that, you know, we found, that we've experienced, is just crazy. You know, but that's the main reason why I got into it. Was, I think it was like maybe my grandfather saying, you need to be in this field and I'm here to show you, get into it. And then it's just gone from there, and it's been a great experience ever since.
Well, I was going to ask, do you feel that he had a message that he was trying to send, or why do you think he showed up?
Do you know, I think I was close to him, very close to
Okay.
him. And when he passed away, in a way, it was like losing a best friend, because I remember he owned an antique shop. And after school, I would go and see him and sit in the shop with him, talk, you know. And then the weekends, if he needed some help, I would go and help him, you know. So we had a very strong relationship. And at the point of him passing, a few days before, I spent the night at the hospital with him, you know, and we spoke what he could say. But and I think it was just letting me know that he was still present. Because since then, you know, I've had experiences with him mainly where he's come to me, and it's just, you know, the last one was last June. I was quite poorly, and I was in hospital, come out, and long story short, I had 2 blood clots in my lungs.
Mm.
And Sarah, bless her, she was helping me out because it was a difficult time. But I remember, well, Sarah remembers me sort of falling into like a sleep. And then the first thing I said to her was, don't worry, my nonna said everything's going to be okay, which nonna is Italian for granddad.
Okay.
But I can remember seeing him like in a dream format. But Sarah said, you turned to me and said he was going to be, everything was going to be okay. So I think, if anything, I think because of our connection being so close when he was here, we still have that connection. And I think he's still a very big part of my life now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because every so often I smell his tobacco that he used to smoke. And it's really funny because I don't know if you have it over where you are, but the papers that you would use to roll a cigarette, because he used to do roll,
Mm-hmm.
they call it. It was
Yeah.
like a licorice scent.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And then every so often I can smell it like he's behind me, or if I'm sat in the front room, I could just get this whiff of the tobacco. So it's just things like that, and it's made me think, what else can we find in the paranormal field? You know, it's sort of, he's drawn me into it, and then I don't know how, but then Dan offered me a place within the team to join what they're doing, and yeah, we've had a great time ever since.
I always love hearing stories when they have such a personal connection with the spirits that brings them in. I mean, it just shows you're where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, it's amazing because I've always said it before, and it's no disrespect to the paranormal field because I've got a lot of respect for it and I've got a real passion for doing it right. But I think a part of it, when you grow up, you sort of, a lot of people are scared to accept the unknown, and they sort of diverse into thinking this is not real, that's not real. It's a way to not having to venture into what they don't know what they're going to find because they're scared of it. And I used to say to Sarah, what, are you going to go and play Ghostbusters with your friends and things like that? And I think for me, it was just my way of, you know, keeping that sort of industry not in my life, because you don't know what to expect. And you hear all these horrible stories that, you know, people do things the wrong way, and then there's like a bad stigma to it sometimes. But no, I think after what I experienced and the way we do things, you know, I enjoy it now, and I have a true understanding of the proper way of going into an investigation. And I think a lot of that has helped talking to a lot of people. We've developed our podcast, and we've had you on a few times. We've listened to the way you've done things, Chris, Dr. Chris Sumner, you know, and it's just using all the people that we've had on our podcast and listen to the way they do it and then implement it ourselves and see what works and doesn't work. It's just, it's been a great experience.
Do you all have we have a lot of paranormal teams here in the US. Do you all have a lot of paranormal teams there in the UK? Is it something that is a widely accepted industry there?
You're always going to have the people that don't accept the industry. I think and again, I think a big part of it is because they're scared to step into the unknown. You know, that's with anything that we do in life. But there is a lot of paranormal. I didn't realize how popular the paranormal field was until I joined Portal to the Paranormal. So yeah, there is a lot of teams across the UK that we know of. One team we've actually done a collaboration with from Brighton, which is about 2 hours away from us, and they've become really good friends of ours. So it is accepted, but I think at the same time it's not accepted. You just got to find the right people and make them understand we're not there. I think the problem is people think we go in like, this spirit's going to do this, we're going to do. That's not how we go. It's not about that at all. We introduce ourselves. We say, look, if you want to communicate, this is your opportunity. It's not how. And I think sometimes it's the TV shows that show it in a bad light. And no disrespect to anyone that's on TV, not saying it's just my opinion. You know, it sheds a bad light on, you know, how to do things sometimes. But yeah, we go in and it's very different the way we do it. And, you know, if people was to join us and see the way we do it, I think there would be more acceptance of the paranormal.
I totally agree. I was going to ask your opinion on the paranormal entertainment shows, as far as like if you think that that's done a service or a disservice to us.
It depends on what you're watching. One of the key things I always say to people is don't take too much on board what the TV shows are telling you. And the reason I say it, one of the things that they're very quick to say, if, for example, if something moves in an aggressive manner, straight away the word demonic is used too quickly. And I think it's not, you know, it could be a spirit that's just really unhappy with the way they've passed and they don't know how to express themselves anymore. We've got to remember, you know, we uncover loads of stories about locations, and some of the history that we find is devastating. And I'll give you one example. We went to a new location, Murchison Hall. We knew nothing of this investigation whatsoever, and we were doing like a bit of a call out with some simple cat balls and an EVP. The spirit box. Okay. And we had a young female voice come through. And the funny thing is, we were directed to go outside. So as you go out of this location, you turn to the right, and there's a footpath. Now, what we didn't know, back in the late 90s, early 2000, it was a common area where people that are like meeting up for, you know, interacting with each other, shall we say. Yeah.
Okay.
It was a common place for people to meet up. Again, we didn't know nothing about this. So we went and we said, the young girl that was here, so we had 3 separate people using the dowsing rods. Now, again, my personal opinion on dowsing rods, I didn't think much of the experiment until this point. So we were asking, can you give your yes answer, your no? We got the response. All three people had the same response, which I found was quite fascinating.
Okay.
And then we said, is the young girl here with us? Can you give us your yes answer if you're here? It gave us the yes answer. And again, all three people. Now, we asked a number of questions, and what we uncovered was this girl was murdered at that spot. I went home, we Googled it, and when we Googled it, it was in 1993. A 15-year-old girl was being pursued by an older gentleman, and she went to meet him. The next day, she was found murdered in that footpath. And that was, for me, that was like, you know, one, it's just such a sad story. But I think, you know, what we did was we touched on it lightly. We showed respect. And I think that's why she wanted to communicate with us. The problem with the TV shows, when something like that happens, they think it's something demonic. It's not like that. You really need to understand your surroundings, the location before you know, let's be honest. How many times have you gone in and really think there's something demonic? If a person passes on that was grumpy, always annoyed, more than likely they're going to pass on being that grumpy and annoyed person, you know, but it doesn't mean there's anything demonic. So the TV set, I think some of the entertainment scenes of the paranormal makes it harder for people that are doing the investigations the right way. They're making people think everything that happens is something demonic, and it's not true at all. You know, I just think people need to step back from that word and realize, you know, people were brought up in different eras. People were brought up differently, and it depends on the kind of personalities that they grow into. I think that's what you're more likely getting. Not saying that there isn't anything demonic, but the likelihood of going into that is, in my opinion, very slim.
I totally agree.
That's my opinion.
No,
and
we
I
deal
don't want
with
to offend
that.
anyone.
No, we deal with that here at the jail because we do get darker, more negative responses sometimes, but we're in a jail. I mean, these were not people who were here because they were the pillars of society. So, you know, you're going to get different, especially on the second floor, you're going to get a little more darker, creepier type stuff. And you just, like you said, you have to really look at your history or look at your surroundings because you may just be, you know, interacting with a grump.
Yeah, that's it. And especially like we've investigated a jail, Shepton Mallet, and you know the atmosphere in the jail, you can feel it's eerie. It's like you get like this evil vibe. But again, you think about some of the characters that would have been hung in those days. They had the hangings there still, you know, and some of the characters that they would have had to come across were evil, and they're still going to be that evil person when they pass on. So, you know, you just got to be very wary of, you know, what is real and what isn't. The thing with the entertainment industry, they need to get viewers. They need to get viewers to continue. So they're going to do anything anything they can to get people drawn in. And I think for some reason, a lot of people are on the demonic, the evil side of things. And, you know, but in my opinion, it's not really like that. But that's only my opinion and what I've seen from doing this. And that's what I think.
Well, and that's what sells. That's the clickbait and the stuff that drives people to people's pages is the negative and the dark that they encounter. Have you found there, I mean, because you all have such amazing history there in the UK, such old history and great locations to investigate. Do you find that the locations are really open to investigating and opening up to paranormal and paranormal tourism? Or is this something that, obviously, I know it depends on the place, but is this something that you all have to kind of push for whenever you want to investigate a location?
No, do you know what? We're quite lucky. Like you said, we've got a lot of history behind us. And I think a lot of these locations want to show the history still. And one of the ways is with paranormal investigations. So they are quite open with it. I think the only thing is where you have a paranormal investigating team that have been in before that have been disrespectful to the location and the way they've done things, and it sort of, again, it has that knock-on effect for everyone else, because if one team's doing it, these locations are going to think every team's doing it. But we've been quite lucky when we've made contact with locations. They've been forthcoming and said, yeah, come and have an investigation, see what you can uncover. You know, we get people say to us, you know, can you let us know if you find anything? Send us any videos, you know. So they're quite intrigued about, you know, being involved as well. We did one location called Merrily House, beautiful, like it's a massive like house, and the two people that were there to allow us in, they were like, can we join you? And we had a great evening. We caught some evidence, and there's one of the videos that I sent you is of Merrily House.
Okay.
And again, you know, it's just the way you present yourself. I think that's the most important thing. If you present yourself in the right manner and you show that you have all respect, not just for the people that are running the building still, but the spirits and the location, you're going to get a lot more evidence and you'll have a lot more interaction. It's just about your mannerisms and showing respect.
Well, and that's too. I've watched some of your all's lives, and that's something that I really have to say about when you watch Portal to the Paranormal's lives, not the podcast, but the lives that your teams are doing. And you all do go in with respect, and you go in with a really historically minded attitude with this, and you all put out great lives whenever you do them.
Yeah, like I said, we want to just show people that, you know, you can still have a good time as well. I know we take everything we do very seriously, and we do respect every location. But bearing in mind, these spirits have been stuck there for we don't know how long. You know, some of the, you know, you're going back to the 18th century and things like even further back. You know, and I do believe spirits still have a sense of humor. A lot of them have a sense of humor. And we do things like, if nothing's really going on, we will sit there and tell each other stories, or we'll talk about our kids. A lot of us in the team, we have children, you know, and we would talk. And do you know what is amazing? When you're taking your eye off the ball and you're not actually in the location to investigate and you're talking about other things, that's when you start getting things in the background. Like the spirits like doing the knocking, or, you know, the spirits are coming and saying, oi, you're meant to be investigating here. Can you pay more attention to us? So you can, you know, and again, it's just their way of, you know, showing that they are there, but you just need to be patient. You know, it's like going fishing. You cast the rod, you're not going to get a fish straight away. You've got to be so patient with it. It's not something that you're going to get straight away. And sometimes you need to go back to these locations and investigate again and again to get anything. So, you know, but you can have a good time with doing an investigation. It doesn't need to be all serious. It's what you put into it and the kind of energy that you bring into the investigation as well.
Absolutely. And I was just kind of scrolling through your website here, which there's your beautiful wife, Miss Sarah.
Yeah, you
And
know,
you know, that's the thing. I mean, it seems like you guys have a great team. And that can really make or break an investigation when you have that good atmosphere, that positive energy when you go into a location, and where you can sit and have you know, just these kind of casual conversations and
mm.
kind of cut up with each other.
Yeah, I think, you know, having the right dynamics between the team works so well. And I think we're not just doing this. We don't meet up just for investigations or for the podcast. We actually talk, you know, as like we're a second family, to be honest. You know, I talk to Dan all the time. We make jokes about each other, and, you know, it's a real great, you know, every single person is not just a team member. They mean so much to me. They're a big part of my life now, and I wouldn't have it any different, you know. So I think that's what's so great. So when we do go out and do our investigations, or we have people come along, they get that atmosphere, and it just makes it so much easier to enjoy, you know, because sometimes we got to rely on each other as well, because sometimes you are put to the test in some locations that can make you feel really uncomfortable. And I think it's so important to be able to know that you can rely on the people that are around you that are going to support you, because it can be, you know, sometimes for no reason at all, it can just, it's like getting winded, you know, when someone punches you so hard in the stomach, your breath is just taken away. And it can happen at these locations, and you need to have people that you can trust and rely on that are going to help you. And I think that's what's so good about our team as well.
That very true, and very well said, because that's, you know, when you're putting yourself in these type situations, because again, you never know. Most of the time, they're not demonic or anything like that. But when you're putting yourself in a situation of energy drain or high stress or just high energy in and of itself, you got to be particular of who you surround yourself with.
Definitely. And, you know, and again, I always say it, they're a great bunch of people, and, you know, I love every one of them, you know, for, you know, we have so much fun, and, you know, and I think that's what makes us successful as a team. You know, we have that foundation where we have everything: friendship, we know when to be honest with each other, and we know how to accept things, and we just deal with everything and have fun. You know,
I
fun's
love it.
important. Fun is important.
That's right. That's right. We have a question here. Chris says, we have had a rise in TikTokers going to locations over here. Have you seen that in the UK as well?
Yeah, so when we put out our content, we get a lot of questions asked, and we get people, you know, they come and join us because of what we've put out and the kind of talks that we do. So yeah, and again, I think it's the way, like you and Chris, I see a lot of what you guys do, and it's the way you do it. Like, I love Chris, you know, she talks about the history, about the location. I think that's so important. And then you as well, you tell the story. And I think that's what people get drawn into. If you tell the story, then, you know, people want to join in and find out more. So yeah, so we do find that if you do things the right way, it does draw in people to want to go to these locations and find out more for themselves.
Absolutely. And I just want to pull your website back up again, because you guys have a great website, and you guys are constantly doing things. I mean, on here, and I've got the a link in the show notes, but I'm going to go ahead and also put that just for quick reference over here in the let's see here, over here in the comments section, just so everyone can find it when they're going back and watching this. But you guys do a lot of stuff. You've got a lot of events and stuff coming up.
Yeah, so, you know, one of the things, like, Dan has, you know, he had a great vision for this. And one of the things is getting people to come along and, you know, allowing people to see how we do the investigations, because everyone is different. And the locations, you know, it helps the locations as well to let people know that they're there. Because a lot of these locations offer other activities as well, you know. But for us, you know, we want people to join just to see how things are done. And it's amazing. We have people that come and don't believe in the paranormal. They come because, and I'll give you one example. On the top there, you got Fort Whitley, an amazing location. It was a fort that was used to protect the surrounding area of Portsmouth in Hampshire. And there's a number of different forts. You got Fort Whitley, Fort Pembroke, and there's another one, I can't remember the name. But on this particular night, a gentleman come down with us, and he was talking to me as we were walking down the tunnel. This is a while ago now. And he was like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't believe in any of this. And I was like, that's absolutely fine. You have a right to believe what you want. We're not here to tell you, you need to believe this, you need to do this. That's not how we work. I was like, just go through the evening, see how you're feeling. We went into one of the side tunnels. I think it was like a bunker sort of thing. And we were stood there with the spirit box, and a very strong male presence come through. You know, and he said, the spirit said key things that related to this gentleman. And we said, do you want this man to go in the other room on his own? And it went, yes. Okay, so we put the guy in there. And then the messages come out was, I'm here, son. It said the person's sister's name and his partner's name. And the gentleman turned around and said, if you're here with me, can you touch me as he said it, he had like a hand touch him on the back of his head. And
Wow.
then the last two messages were, son, I'm always here. Think about what you're doing. And I never saw a change in emotion. He come out in tears because he understood everything that come through. We didn't ask because it was personal to him, but we
Right.
took him back into the hub area where we have our, break area for them, everyone to just sort of relax.
Mhm.
And to see the emotion that he went through that night, at the end of the evening, he come up and said it was one of the best things he's ever witnessed. And we didn't tell him what to believe. We just said, go with what you feel, and then let us know what you think at the end of the night. And just to see the transition from a non-believer to, wow, I need to rethink this really quickly, was amazing. And nothing was, and it just shows we were there to try and uncover the story of Fort Whitley, but instead we had a personal message for
Mhm.
this gentleman. And I believe he's going to be attending some more events with us in the future. So
Oh.
it just shows, if you, and I keep saying it, do it the right way, and people are going to appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. What are your favorite type of investigation to do? Would it be the forts? Would it be the old hospitals, jails? What do you like personally?
I think every location deserves its own credit. If I'm honest, it's so hard to say one's better than the other. Um, you know, yeah, I think every place that I've been able to investigate has a great story, has a great background, and every location deserves its own respect. So I don't think I could actually say I've got a favorite one, because I would have to go through all the lists to what I've experienced. It's honestly, some of the stuff that we've picked up, but even when you don't pick something up, just to be in the presence of the history of what it was, what it was before, and you learn about it. Like I said, every location is beautiful in its own rights.
I love that. That's such a good answer because a lot of the time it's like asking someone to choose between their favorite child.
Yeah, you can't do it,
No,
can you? So
no.
it's a really hard one. There are locations that stick up to me for, because of evidence that we've captured, but every location is absolutely stunning. It's great, and I've enjoyed every one. Even when we've not picked up anything, just being there and learning the history is just great.
Absolutely. So let me get this queued up here, and we're going to talk about some of this evidence that you've sent here. So let me see if I can get this to play here or to pull up. Um, so this would be one of the pictures that you
So
sent.
this one here is, we were at a place called Manor Farm. So it's a big, like as it said, a manor farm, which is broken down into farmhouses. It has its own church, and there's two barns. We were in the larger barn, and we had a gentleman doing a scrying experiment. Now, initially, when we started doing the experiment, we noticed with the gentleman there, if you look on his forehead, it's like he's got a crucifix on his head that started to sort of form. I don't know if you can see it there. Can you see like the cross on his head?
Yeah.
So that
Wow.
sort of sparked an interest. But then when we looked at the camera after we took the picture, if you zoom it back out,
Okay.
okay, on the right hand side, you clearly see like a face
Yeah,
above
it's
him.
like the side view of a face, right?
Aside, you would think that was a person just watching. There was no one standing on the side of this gentleman. There was no one there. Everyone
Wow.
else was on the other side behind him. And we get a full picture of a side view of a gentleman. That's what I make out of it. But there was no one actually stood next to the gentleman that was actually doing the scrying session. So
So
that was
was
quite a great piece of evidence there.
Yeah, so was he doing and I'm gonna zoom in on that. So was he doing, mirror scrying?
Yeah, it was a mirror scrying with a
Okay.
red light underneath him. And what we tend to do, so don't get any mix up of what's in the mirror, we have everyone out of the mirror view.
Mm-hmm.
So we only know it's the one person that's in front doing the actual scrying session.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, we took the picture initially because we thought it was forming some kind of cross on his head.
Yes.
But then when we looked at it properly, we get a side view of a person that was not part of any of the team or any of the other people that were there. And there was no one standing on the side of the gentleman in front of the mirror. So that was quite a great find.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you can clearly see the nose. To me, it looks like a mustache and a mouth.
And the thing that I find interesting as well, because he's quite far forward, you would think that you would get a shape of his body as well in the mirror.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you can't see his body. You can only see like the head looking down. So that was so that was one of the great pictures that we found that we didn't expect. It was a great find for.
That's a great catch. Have you guys had a lot of good experience with your scrying experiments?
Yeah. So again, it sort of depends on. I think spirits would choose who they feel comfortable revealing themselves to.
Mm-hmm.
But we have had we had another location where we investigated called, I always pronounce it wrong, Withering Manor. It's one of the oldest buildings in Portsmouth, very haunted. And we had a lady up in the attic that was doing the scrying, and her facial features changed to the point where, it was an older lady, but then she had like the garment on for a nun.
Okay.
And then when we spoke to the historian of the location, the history was the place was run by nuns and priests. But the problem was the priests would impregnate nuns.
Oh.
And what they would do is in the attic area, they would do illegal abortions up there. So that was quite, that being seen fit what the history is of the nuns, so again, it really depends because, like Sarah's saying, spirits aren't performing monkeys. You got to be very patient, because they're not there to perform. You just got to go in with the right intentions and just see what gets uncovered as you go through the location.
And that's the hardest thing to convey to some people if they're not an investigator is when you go in, doing a guided ghost hunt is so hard sometimes because you'll have people, and I don't know if you experience this, but you'll have people that come in and there's a lot of, okay, we're gonna sit in this room, we're gonna ask these questions. One, they almost always don't want to ask questions. They want to sit and observe. And then if nothing is happening, because 9 times out of 10, it's not this dramatic event that happens, it's usually something subtle. There's not a lot of patience sometimes, or they just don't understand that it doesn't always happen in that period of time.
I think the problem, and we can revert back to the entertainment scenes or the TV shows. When people watch all these TV shows, something happens every time. What people don't realize is that they got to do a number of hours of recording. And, some people record one day and then the next day, but then put it into one, so people need to start realizing it's not as it seems. They're putting this video together to say this is one location, but in some TV shows, it hasn't been just one recording. It's been a few sittings. And I think that's the problem. People see something happening all the time on the TV. They go to these locations, they go to these investigations thinking, well, it happens all the time on the TV. It's going to happen all the time now. And that's why I keep saying it's not how it is. It is really like going fishing, and you just got to wait for that bite. And sometimes the bite can be so small that you don't even realize it until after, when you go back through your footage, when you go back through your EVP recordings. It could be the slightest thing that you miss. But again, you just got to be so patient and so willing to be open and understand, how it really works. Because again, the TV shows they give a false representation of how the paranormal works, and unfortunately people are too quick to take on board the TV shows and not realize You know, we can sit there for hours and nothing will happen. I'm sure you've experienced it as well.
Yes.
You know, you get told about these amazing locations, which they are so haunted, and then you go there, nothing happens. And that is just the way it is. It is like, it's like playing the lottery. You've got to keep playing and playing and playing to win a little bit, you know, and it's the same with the paranormal.
That's a good description, because we bring people through and we'll tell them about different things that we've experienced here or other teams have experienced here. And we've had things so dramatic as as a spirit pulling a photo off the wall and throwing it 4.5 feet and actually catching, the arm. And I know, like you saw on the live that I did here, one of the doors was slammed there in front of us. So we have these dramatic things happen, and we'll share that with the investigators, but it's almost, I get nervous when I start sharing this stuff, because it's like activity is not guaranteed. And definitely go back and look at your footage and stuff, because you just never know what you may capture that you didn't realize that you captured.
And that's the thing. We try so hard to capture as much as we can. And because we don't get the big captures like the TV shows or these big YouTubers, you know, it's easy for people to say, this is fake, this is fake. Well, actually, no, it isn't. The only reason we're showing this once in a while, because that's how it happens. You know,
Exactly.
the moments don't happen as frequently. We would love it to. You know, if we were capturing something every investigation, we wouldn't need to do anything else. You know, we would literally be able to do this every day, you know, permanently. But, you know, in our experience and what I've done, you know, it happens very little. It's the little things that you've got to listen out for. You've got to be in tune. So, you know, even with your listening skills, you don't need to be a medium, you don't need to be psychic, but you can use your listening skills to hear noises that shouldn't be there, you know, especially when you know the surrounding area, there's no one else there, and then you start hearing footsteps. But you just got to be very patient, and that's what people need to realize. It's not an easy industry to get involved in. You know, you're going to have patience. If you haven't got the patience, then you need to look the other way, because like I said, the TV shows don't really show the effort that's put in by people like us that have to wait, and then something happens, you know.
Exactly.
So it's just the way it is. And you know, I'm sorry if people don't like that, but that is my opinion, and that's what I feel is true.
Absolutely. So we've got, I'm going to pull this one up, but before I start it, I want you to set this one up as to what we're about to see.
Okay, so this is just a simple spirit box session. So I believe it was me, Dan, and Luke. We were at a place called Bearsden Brickworks, where they used to manufacture all the bricks and, you know, to distribute to builders. And again, we were doing the spirit box. We didn't get anything. So we just started having a bit of a chat to ourselves. And then when we left the filming going, so in the middle there, you can just see the spirit box and you hear it in a moment. But I've got quite an unusual name, so you wouldn't expect to hear my name. But if you play it, and then you can sort of hear it, and then we'll talk about it after.
Absolutely. I'll play it through twice here. So let me get that started. Wow. Okay, that's really cool, because it is a different name, and I feel the same way, because when I get mine, because Miranda is not a common one either, and to get that on a spirit box, that's really cool.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like before that, you know, what we try and show is everything is uncut. You know, we try and give out as much raw footage, but we want to get to the point as well to where the evidence is, so you don't lose that interaction with people.
Yep.
But before we introduced ourselves, we always go around and say, my name is Nando, this is Dan, this is Luke. And then we felt that we weren't getting anything, so we just started doing a little bit of a talk, and then we just sat there very carefully, very quietly, and then out of nowhere my name come through, and you hear at the end Dan turn around and say, "Did you hear that?" So I didn't hear it at first, I didn't catch that, but it was lucky because Luke, he's a great, he does great filming, he's a great photographer, but we played it back and you can clearly hear my name coming through the spirit box, which again, and then we tried to, is that a spirit that knows me? Because instantly when things like that happen, the only person I revert to is my granddad. Could that have been him just saying my name? But yeah, it's very clear. I think you can hear my name very clearly,
Very clear.
which again, you wouldn't expect to hear my name, because let's be honest, we know the spirit box runs through a sweep station of all the radio stations, and that's how. So again, Nando being there very clearly, that was cool. It was a cool bit of evidence again.
Now, had you investigated there before?
No, it was the first time.
Oh,
it was
very
the first
cool.
time that I've been there. So, so if that was a spirit, it would have only known me from that moment when we introduced ourselves. And again, we try and keep it as calm and respectful. So we literally just sat on the floor. We went round, asked a few questions, didn't really get much from it. And then my name come through and we were like, okay, anything else you want to tell us? Nothing come through after that. So it was just that little moment. Again, it's the little fish there.
Yes.
And that was good enough for us, because it just shows that these experiments do work. And we just want to show people that, this is how to do it. And if you want to come and join and watch us and get involved, come and join. But be prepared to be sitting in the dark, sitting in some dingy rooms, for a while. And so again, something might not happen. You just got to be patient and be willing to accept if nothing happens, that's just the way it goes.
Well, and I love that you guys show when nothing happens too, because that's what I like to show in mine, because I feel like the things that we don't get validates the things that we do, because if it happened all the time, it wouldn't be, more than likely, it wouldn't be legit.
No, and the thing that we do, we don't, when we go live, we don't stay in front of the camera all the time, because people can watch. We set up different cameras around the whole location. So there's different boxes where you can watch different parts of the location, and people can see for themselves. If something happens, it happens. That's great. But if it doesn't, but at least they can see that we're willing to show the full investigation. We're not just going to give you parts of this happened this time, this happened. There's some nights that we go, thank you for watching, but nothing happened. But what a great location.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it may just not be, it may just not be the night for it. Let's see. So the next one, let me get that queued up here. Okay, so why don't you tell us what was going on in this one?
So this location, we spent a night at Nuns Cross Farm. This was a house that was built in 1870 by John Hooper, who leased the land from the Duchess of Cornwall. And after him and his wife took the occupancy in 1871, they proceeded to, use it as a live farm. So they had stock and everything. And the story went, one day the wife went out to just, see to the animals, and she never returned. And then 2 days later, she was found dead in one of the little rivers. So what we did, we went outside with some simple cat balls. So they're like the flashing balls. So for me, I think this is a good experiment, because these cat balls are not actually designed for the paranormal. They're designed for cats to play with. And I just did a simple calling out. And again, I got some really, I feel, intelligent responses, because the spirit did what I asked it, but I did it nicely, So yeah. And I hope people enjoy this one, because I thought it was another great bit of evidence that we caught.
Okay. Get that queued up.
If the Hoopers, who once lived here and worked here, Here, can you set off the lights for me, please? Thank you. Can you tell me which of you I'm talking to? Are you Mrs. Hooper? You step away from the wall. If the Hoopers who once lived here and worked here are here, can you set off the lights for me, please? Thank you. Can you tell me which of you I'm talking to? Are you Mrs. Hooper? You step away from the wall. If the Hoopers who
Wow, that's so cool. That's great that that's a great capture.
And it's such a simple bit of equipment that's not
Yes.
designed for the paranormal. And again, the way we like to do it, we say thank you for a response. So it's important to acknowledge that they're using their energy to make that communication. As you can see, that I was moving quite a lot because I was quite uncomfortable, because this cottage that we did it as a sleepover. Firstly, it has no running electric in the building, no running water. It was freezing in the building, but outside you're in the middle of actually nowhere. It's to the point there's no signal. We couldn't use it. We weren't unable to use our phones, so we couldn't do our live that night because we had no access to phones. There was no proper lighting. We had all we had was our torches and everything. And as it got deeper into the night, it felt more unsettling. Maybe because of the location. For me, being in the middle of nowhere was like, wow, this is out of my comfort zone as well. Because it doesn't matter how many investigations you do find where you get put out of your comfort zone. And that night for me was, well, we're pushing the limits here, people. You're in the middle of the forest, and yeah, this is not cool. But again, it was a great location to investigate. We had activity actually happen in the front room. So they had, the old fashioned big wooden tables, but it was quite long.
Yes.
So they're quite heavy to move. We were sat there, we were talking, and the table had just shifted, like someone had literally, and everyone's sort of like, whoa, we're awake now. So again, it was great. But that was, just to validate that Mrs. Hooper still walks those grounds. What I did find when I started questioning her a bit more, do you understand what happened to you? The responses stopped. So I do feel sometimes when you go and ask certain questions to a spirit, they don't want to relive what happened to them. With her, another experience that must have been quite tragic to her, because as soon as I started asking those questions, everything started to stop. So it was like, it just shows you ask the right questions, you get the response. You ask questions that they don't like, that's it, the connection's lost. But it was good to just get those responses, and please set it off, stop, set it off again, but always saying thank you, always ask in the right manner. And I think that's important as well.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone's commenting over here about just how that was such a great capture. I mean, just I mean, very intelligent. I mean, that is so cool.
Yeah, and you know what? That was a big. I'll be honest, that was a big moment for me because I was on my own doing it as well. Everyone was indoors. I'm not one to do things on my own usually, because again, you're talking about that comfort zone, talking about the safety aspect of it. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to try it, and I got a good response from it. But it's it is great when you get someone that wants to communicate with you still. But again, you're learning and developing every time what's the right questions to ask, what's not the right questions. It's just finding that balance to make them, because we want to feel comfortable when we talk to people. I believe the spirits want to feel comfortable as well.
Yeah, I mean, I see it, it's truly a gift whenever a spirit will communicate back with you, regardless of the style of communication. I always find it to be a gift that when they do that.
Yeah, and we it's like it's an amazing experience, you know. And I always say to people, you got to build that trust factor with the spirits as well. You know, if they feel they can trust you, that's the only time that they're going to come forward. You know, and again, it's just the way you go into it, your mindset, the respectfulness, and you know, just being true to yourself and not going in with a big ego like I know everything, I'm going to do it this way, you're going to respond to me. That's not cool, and that's not how to do it. So but yeah.
All right. So this one here. So what's the story behind this?
Okay, so this one here, this was one, again, we set up the cameras. This is Merley House, and it's set with 3 floors and the attic area. This is on the 2nd floor where the day nursery is on the right. Now, again, you know, I took a lot of time to look at this video, and orbs, to me, you got to be very careful what you're saying is an orb or something. I think this could be more of a residual energy. So what you're going to see is something pass through, and I think it could be one of the key workers, because in where you can see the back door there, that's where the workers of the house would come out and be ready to serve like the teas to the people that lived in the house, the upper people, as we would call it. But yeah, it's just what you see as it comes through that makes me think, could this be something like a residual energy? But yeah, and maybe you'll tell me what you think, Miranda.
All right. Let's sound there.
Raw footage from our cameras. Could this be a spirit walking the corridors of Merley House? Raw footage from our cameras. Could this be a spirit walking the corridors of Merley House?
The way it moves is really interesting.
So when you're thinking about dust particles, right? Dust particles move in a very like scatty movements. It never follows one pattern. You know, dust particles can fly from different directions. But then with this one, it sort of pauses. As you see it pass through the corridor, it's sort of like it's pausing its way through. And it comes out of that door. You can just about see it coming out through the door. And again, you know, a dust particle doesn't have a sense of direction. It would just go everywhere. But again, it's open to opinion. People might think it's dust, but for me, it's just the movement and the way it presents itself, and then it disappears before actually going out of the camera view. That's why I sort of say, could this be? I never say something's definite, because there could be so many explanations to everything that we do. But could this be a residual energy working through the corridors still?
Absolutely. And did you find that there was a lot of dust orbs or dust particles in this location?
When we look back on the footage, you know, there wasn't a lot of dust on that floor. And, you know, you would see dust rise when someone's just quickly walked through. We know at this point, everyone's down in the basement area of the location. So we know if there is dust, that would all be settled because there's no movement on that part of the floor. So again, but when we look back on it, even when we were up there, there wasn't loads of dust, and not in that movement anyway. You know, and again, it's a hard one. Could it be something? You know, that's the thing. It's open to everyone's opinion, and I value everyone's opinion. But for me, just the way it sort of pauses, it's not like a quick run through. It's sort of going really slowly. The way it comes out the door. So that was the only time I really questioned that sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's I mean, and that's and you know, Jenny was saying on here talking about the straight line movement, and you know, not the way that an insect would be. And then also coming straight from the door. Those are good points. And I like how you look at it on a situational basis. I know I'm asked all the time about orbs, and with my background in photography, I'm always very skeptical of orbs on video and photo, but I'm not going to be one that sit here and says it does not exist, it doesn't happen, because you do have to look at the situation. I had one in my house, and I need to release this, but basically it came out of my motorcycle jacket. I had the motorcycle jacket laying on one of the seats there, and when I got home from work, actually, let me back up. When I got home from work, my dog had pulled the motorcycle jacket off the chair and used the bathroom on it. And I was like, why would she do this? This is not typical behavior. And so
Yeah.
I went back and reviewed my security camera footage that I had on the door there in my living room. And you see, just before she goes and pulls this off, you see her start pacing back and forth. So she's clearly in distress about something. And then and there's no sounds, there was no odd noises or sounds to alert the dog. And so then she goes over, she literally well, before she goes over, this it comes out of nothing, and it just forms and comes out of the jacket and comes toward the camera, and it expands, obviously, because it's getting closer. And so as soon as that happens, she runs over to the jacket and pulls the jacket off and uses the bathroom on it. And so I tend to look at several things on that. One, it came out of nowhere. It literally formed out of the jacket. And the dog was acting very territorial towards something that she sensed coming from the jacket. And so what I took was maybe more of a form of aggression of her using the bathroom on my jacket. I took more to be more of a possession type thing, that she was showing her possessiveness. And so after that, I ended up watching the footage for about 30 minutes after. And there was something that because I was, excuse me, that's silly. And so move on. And so, you don't have to stop in front of the camera there. And so basically afterwards, I was sitting there eating in the frame of the camera, and I get up to go throw my food bag away, and something darts across the room, raises up, and you see the side profile of a face, and
Wow.
it moved like it was just walking and following me. And so all this happened in a period of time, in like a short period of time, about 30 minutes, and it all seemed to be related. Again, I'm not one to sit there and put orbs out, but I have no explanation. And after looking at what, the dog, how the dog reacted, and then how that reacted in my house, to me, it was something unexplainable.
And that's the thing, with orbs, you got to be, again, it's one of those things that you got to be very careful what you're putting out for people to view. We don't, a lot of the times when you think you've seen something, it's a dust particle. And again, that's where you got to be aware of your surroundings. How dusty is it? How dirty is it? Especially when you're going into places like basements and everything. That is you're going to get a lot of rising dust because you're walking through the basement, and especially old buildings as well. But with this one, I did look at other footage where you can see dust particles just flying in front of the camera everywhere. And for me, with this one, it was just the way it moves, and it's like it's just casually walking through the corridor. It doesn't change in any direction. Like when you're looking at dust particles that people might think is an orb, they move,
kind of like snow,
really
almost.
quickly. And it sort of moves, if there's a gush of wind or a breeze or something coming through it changes. This just seemed to go in one line, like it had a purpose, it had a sense of where it was going. And that's the only thing that made me question, could this be something more? If anything, I think if it is a spirit, is a residual energy, something that, just going through the motions of working the corridor, doing their thing, because that's what the workers would be doing. But again, I never said it was definite. Could
Yeah.
this be? And that's
No,
the
and I think
important
that's
part.
great. Absolutely. And, we always tell people here at the jail, because we keep it very clean here, and we do it for that reason. Because you go into some locations, excuse me, and it just looks like a snowstorm of dust, and it's really hard to tell. If you have to watch each of those particles to see if there's something that kind of has a controlled, thought out motion, or if it's just, flying through like snow. Again, same with a bug, you kind of got that drunk, erratic, flowing kind of
Yeah.
movement. But we always tell people, and we've gotten compliments on that here, because people will say, I don't get dust here on my footage. Every now and then you'll get something, when someone passes through. I mean, we are a building, but a lot of the time we always tell people, it's like, well, if you do see something on there, just look at it very carefully, because it's possible there could be something else, because it's not something you do experience in a lot of the video here.
And 9 out of 10 times when you're looking at things that appear in front of the camera, it's more than likely it's a dust particle, or it's an insect that's flown past the camera. And again, it is, like I always say, you got to be aware of your surroundings and the kind of, what is the setting? How's the property been looked after? Do we know it's a dusty place? Do we know it's dirty? Is that going to create dust particles? So again, it is about knowing what you're doing and what you're presenting to your audience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about your podcast that you've got here. So, and like you said, I know myself and Dr. Sumner have been on there. So tell us about your podcast and when people can watch it.
So, Thriller Podcast, Portal to the Paranormal Thriller Podcast Live was, it was one of those, it was Sarah come up with an idea, let's invite a guest on. And it started off just using Facebook Live, and it was just such a great thing. And again, we didn't know how popular the podcasts are until we got more involved in, speaking to more people. So we had a guy called Richard Leo Lillard on for the first time, and it just went from there. And and then we spoke, and I think you're the one that introduced me to StreamYard after we did the podcast together.
Yeah.
You said, Nando, do it through StreamYard is a lot easier than Facebook Live, because I think when we first did it, I was above and then you were below, and it just didn't work, and it was just like crazy. So we sort of went with that. We've been using StreamYard ever since, and it's just built such a great network between people. The way we like to do things is, one, we like to bring our personalities into the shows that we do. So we like to have a laugh with all our guests, just make them feel at ease. And it's not, we value everyone that we speak to. Everyone has a right to have their opinions, and our show is about, tell us your experience, tell us what you think. We're not here to say you're right or wrong. We're learning from everyone. And we've had you on the show twice. We've had Dr. Chris Sumner, and it's just gone from there. And we've met so many amazing people that have had so many amazing stories, not only just in the paranormal. We've had like people that are into the ufology, historians, and it's just been great, people interacting. I always say in my description, or when I start, if you've got a question, get involved. The viewers are part of the show as well. If it wasn't for the viewers, we wouldn't have a podcast, let's be honest.
Sure.
So it's just a fun way to interact with people as well. We talk about the paranormal, and then sometimes we get completely off subject and we just talk about normal stuff. It's just a nice laid back show that anyone can join in. The guests are always open to talk to the viewers, and that's all we want to do. And it's a way for people to learn different experiences, how to use different techniques. And yeah, it's a great, I would say, because I'm part of it, it's a great show to be part of. But again, it leads to relationships like us. We talk every so often, and it just, you learn so much respect for people, and we just have a great time with it.
And it just makes the world a lot smaller, you know? I mean,
Yeah,
you know, it's I love that you guys do that so you have different hosts, you know, from the team.
yeah, yeah. I think, you know, everyone is a big part of this family that we've got with Portal to the Paranormal. And it's great that everyone, like, you got Sarah. I think the last time you were on, you had Sarah
Sarah and JoJo.
and Jojo, and
Yeah.
them two together, the combination that they bring is just, you know, Jojo, she is a fantastic character. She is bubbly, she is lovely. And then you got little Joe that's also taken part in the show. And everyone brings their own personality to the guests and to the viewers, and that's what's important, that everyone gets to see who we are as a whole, you know. And you know, and the guests have all been amazing. You know, we've spoken to some truly amazing people, and we've had fun along the way, you know. Sarah has an energy that is just great, you know, I've got to say. And then when her and Jojo together, it just it's explosive, you know.
Yes.
And you know, I just like people to come and join and just enjoy what we do. It's nothing too serious, you know. So, and you know, just to let you know, you can find us on our Facebook page at Portal to the Paranormal. We're on YouTube as well. We're quite new to YouTube, so we're building that. But yeah, we stream on there, and we stream on Parapost as well. So yeah.
Absolutely. So, and it's very easy to find here. Like I said, I'm going to also post this here or paste this here into the comments. Does it? I know you do Thriller Thursdays. Is
That's
that
sort of that's sort of changed. You know,
okay?
trying to stick to one day with people's schedule was quite difficult. So, you know, and this is the thing with everything that you do is a learning curve, because you learn the rights, the wrongs, and the tweaks that you need to make. So we initially thought of it as Thriller Thursday. So every Thursday we will do a show,
Mhm.
but it didn't work with some people, and we want to highlight. And we don't just go out for, you know, the really popular people. We want to highlight the smaller
Mhm.
teams, the people that are getting started, you know, because everyone has, you know, a reason to be in this field, and they need to be shown for what they're doing. So
Mhm.
what we try and do, we try and work around our guests, and you know, what's the best date. So if you want to watch us, the best thing to do is go to our page, and then you'll see all the upcoming podcasts that we have. And you know, please join in, say hello. You know, just let us know that you're there, and then we can acknowledge you. And you know, if you've got any questions for either us as a team or the guests, just shoot away. And we always interact with our audience, and I think that's the important part of it, because again, if it wasn't for the audience, our shows wouldn't be recognized for what we're doing. You know, the lives and everything, they're just a big part of this journey as to what we are.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I know that you guys do put those advertisements out there in advance when you got the shows coming up. So
Yeah,
if you folks over there in the audience want to follow along with their podcast, go onto the Portal to the Paranormal Facebook page and watch for their announcements. And like he said, get involved, because it's definitely a fun show to not only be a part of but to watch. And so, you know,
yeah.
definitely go on and like that.
And I think, you know, especially after, you know, for me personally, after the pandemic crisis, you know, we really saw how precious life is. And we just, as a team, everyone we interact with, we just want people to enjoy what we do, and just have fun with it. You know, I think that's really important, because, you know, life is too short for all this drama and all, you know, all the stuff that goes on the sidelines. And
Mhm.
I think that's what's great with everyone that we've got to know. You know, we all want the same thing for the paranormal. We just want to showcase the lovely locations that we get to investigate, the true history and what happens, and enjoy each other's company. You know, that's what it's about. Is just, when you've had a bad day, come and, if
Mhm.
we're live, come and join in. Forget about what's happened, have a chat, and just enjoy the show, and and hopefully we can make you smile. It's a bit of a let's just have a good time.
Absolutely. And so do you all broadcast, you've got quite the extensive list of events. Do you broadcast those events live, or are your live broadcasts more like the private investigations that you guys do?
No, we do all the investigations. So every providing that Wi-Fi and the internet's working, because like I said, when we went to Nuns Cross, we could have been taken away by aliens and no one would have known that we were there. It was that out of sync. But if we have the facilities to, we will stream live. We will always have the cameras set up in different locations. So if you want to watch like static cameras where we're not actually in front of the cameras all the time, you can watch that. Or sometimes we go live and we walk around the location.
Okay.
So we do give a number of options so you can enjoy it. Like some people like the interaction live, so we do that. And some people just like to watch from home and then put comments and say, this happened at this time. Because we always say, if you see something, please put a timestamp in the comments so we can go back to the footage and get what location. So we have 4 cameras usually set up. If it's camera 1, put it was camera 1 at this time and this is what happened. And then we can go back to it and say, okay, was someone walking in the corridor that caused that light? Or, and we can sort of go back to them and say, thank you for letting us know, but this was the reason. Because we're always, it's important to debunk your own stuff before you say anything, because sometimes, a lot of the times, there's an explanation for something happening.
Absolutely. And so why don't you go ahead and we've been putting some of the locations where they can watch your stuff in the comments there, but why don't you go ahead and just plug the best places where people can find you, all your socials and such.
So the best ones, if you want to see the full investigations and the podcast, is Facebook. So it's Portal to the Paranormal Facebook page. We do stream on PowerPost Central as well. We also stream on YouTube. If you enjoy like short videos, like clips of experiments that we do, you can go to our TikTok page. It's just Portal to the Paranormal. And what we do, we post a lot of like the short clips of stuff happening. So if you want to check us out there, but we hope that you all join us on the podcast because we have a really good time. And, the more people that join in, the better.
Absolutely. So guys, definitely go like, subscribe, and follow Portal to the Paranormal's pages that Nando mentioned. We also have all of those there, everything from their Instagram to their TikTok and their YouTube page there on the show notes. So definitely go check that out, show them some love, and interact with their investigations. So Nando, thank you so much for taking the time tonight to come on. It has just been a wonderful time. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Like I said at the start, it's a bit of a weird one, me doing, like having someone asking me the questions. Usually it's me that's giving all the questions. So it's been great. And, I've got a lot of respect for you, Miranda. I love what you do. And it was, it was such an honor for you to message me and say, would you like to be part of it? And I was like, absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely. I wouldn't say no to that at all. So, yeah. But thank you for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome. And we've got to have you back on, and we may, if we have to pre-record it, we will, because I know your beautiful wife has got to be up early, and you guys are quite a bit ahead in the future there from us here in
yeah, because it's still Thursday there, isn't there, for you?
It is still Thursday.
We're in Friday. We're already Friday now.
So how is Friday? Is the future good?
Yeah, it's looking good. No one's woken up yet, so that's a good thing for me. Yeah, so it's nice and peaceful.
I love it. Well, if you'll stick around for just a few minutes, if you've got a few minutes, I'm going to pull you out there. Just reiterate a couple things, and we'll wrap it up.
Bye, everyone, and thank you for joining.
All right. Thank you, Nando.
Bye.
So, like I said, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you for your questions. I love any opportunity that I get to sit and talk with Nando. I don't feel like we get to do it enough with all of our busy schedules. So, thank you all. Definitely go. Excuse me. Definitely go check out their page, show them some love, and like and subscribe to their page, because they put a lot of time and effort into putting out great content for people to watch. Like I said, just want to reiterate a few things. We've got the 3rd annual Harold Young Memorial Scholarship that's coming up on Saturday. This event, it is a rain or shine event, and I know that based on the weather forecast, this right here in East Tennessee, it's a little bit sketchy for Saturday, especially during the time of the event. It's going to take place from 10 a.m. to noon. So can't stress enough, this is a all vehicles welcome event. You know, we love our bikers, and I'm going to be out on my motorcycle at this event if the weather works. But if not, show up in your car and come out and support this great cause, because, you know, for the students, you know, being in rural East Tennessee, this creates a good opportunity. I mean, it is $1,000, and it is something that we do want to be able to give more if possible, and so be able to maybe give multiple scholarships. And I know for my dad, that was one of those things that was extremely important to him, was creating opportunities for students to be able to further their education and to be able to go into the field of study that they wanted to go into. I know Dad entered the Army to be able to pay for his college. So again, this is for a great cause. Show up in your car. It will, like I said, it will be a rain or shine event. And then also, let me stop that right there. But I do want to pull up the Facebook page, because we are trying to get people over to our historic Rugby After Dark. Like I said, we did mention that the website will be up here very, very soon. But if you haven't gone and liked the Facebook page, definitely go and check that out. We do have that open. And so it's Historic Rugby After Dark. We're trying to build that Facebook page. On this page, it's going to be like the jails page, where we post pictures from our investigation teams that we have, post evidence, as well as post photos from our lantern tours and other events. That's where we're going to have all of that information put out there. So if you wouldn't mind going, and let me just put that over here, checking that out. Whoops, that's the historyhighwaysandhaunts.com website. So check out the website, historyhighwayshaunts.com, and that's going to take you to Historic Rugby After Dark website, and then the Historic Rugby After Dark Facebook page. So we would definitely appreciate if you guys wouldn't mind checking that out. So, and giving us a follow and keeping track of when we have investigations and all of that stuff up there on the page. So just something new to add to the area if you're traveling through here. So again, appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Next week is going to be wrapping up the end of May. And so it's going to actually be a double header podcast. My guest next week is Mr. Rex Nielsen, and he actually does a podcast that comes on just before mine. So we're going to actually do a double header where I'm a guest on his show first. I think that's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then he's going to come over to my show at 9. Let me double check the times on that for his, but we're basically going to be rotating back and forth like that, where I'll be his guest and then he'll be mine. So it's going to be a longer show, but it's going to be a very interesting one. So I hope that you guys will definitely come on and tune in for that. So again, until next week, keep an eye out on the page for any special announcements and any things that are going on. Hopefully we'll be able to maybe go live this Saturday from the event. If not, then we'll definitely have pictures, and we'll be announcing the winner. We will have a video that has the winner on there. So until then, I hope you guys have a blessed evening and a wonderful night.